Cut the cord, reclaiming your energy from the souls you were never meant to save. Church of Sophia, June 14th, 2026. Before we begin, I want you to know where we are in time. We are 1 week out from the summer solstice. The longest light of the year is coming. The sun is in the final degree of Gemini, the sign of twins, of double vision, of two truths held simultaneously. And it is about to cross into Cancer, the sign of the mother, the home, the child. We are standing at the threshold between the season of seeing clearly and the season of coming home. And Mercury, the planet of communication, of the mind, of the stories we tell ourselves, is retrograde in Gemini right now, which means we are being asked to go back, to look again, to reconsider the story we have been telling about who we are and what we owe to whom. The sky is setting the table for exactly what we are here to do today. We're going back to look at that story, and we're going to find out what was in it and what was actually ours. Our opening reading is from the Rooted Restoration, the doctrine of the implanted sin. What they called original sin was never yours. It was the patriarchal delusion, planted, not born. The delusion's first move is always the same: convince the host that it was always supposed to be this way. It enters through doctrine, through church, through family systems, through the language you were handed before you could question it. It enters through shame, and it settles in. And when it whispers in your own voice, this is just who you are. You were not born broken. You were born infected by a system that needed you to believe you were. The sin was never in you. It was never you. So we're going to begin here in the body. Not in your mind, not in your history, but in your body right now. I want you to feel something for a moment. I want you to feel what it feels like to be responsible for someone you cannot save. Oof, it just hit me. Feels crunchy. Like someone you love or who have loved or are trying to stop loving. Someone you can see, really see all the way down. And that seeing has kept you tethered long past the point when leaving would have been the same thing to do. That feeling has a texture to it. It feels like a cord in the chest that won't release. Like a pull towards something that has never once pulled back with the same force. Like loving someone in a language they cannot speak and blaming yourself for the translation failure. I know that feeling. I lived inside of it. And I want you to know something. That feeling was not an accident. It is not a character flaw. It was not evidence that you loved wrong or chose wrong or that you're broken in some fundamental way. It was engineered. The Rooted Restoration speaks of the Volva lineage, of the Norse seeresses, the women who stood at the threshold between the seen and unseen and reported without apology what she found there. Some of you in this room are built like that. You do not just see what's in front of you, you see through it. You walk into a room and you feel the temperature of what is actually happening underneath what is being said. You look at someone who is behaving badly and your vision does not stop at the behavior. It goes all the way down to the wound underneath. You can feel almost exactly the age they were when they got locked, the moment the armor went on. The child who is still in there, small and afraid and sending out a signal. See me, help me, pick me. And you do see them clearly and accurately. The sight is real. I need you to hear that again. Your sight is real. You're not just imagining it. You're not projecting. There is genuinely a soul in there who is genuinely reaching. The problem was never your vision. The problem was what you were taught to do with it. Because somewhere, through a mother who modeled it, through a church that preached it, through a culture that rewarded it, you learned a rule so deep it stopped feeling like a rule and started to feel like your nature. If I can see it, I am responsible for it. If I can feel the child in there, I cannot abandon the child. That would make me the one who walked away, the one who knew and left anyway, the one who failed the small one still pressed up against the walls. And so you stayed. Not because you were foolish, not because you couldn't see the harm accumulating. You stayed because you were responsible to something true that kept briefly surfacing and then disappearing. There would be a softening, a moment of real contact, a flicker of the person underneath the armor, and your whole nervous system would say, "There you are, I knew you were in there." And then it would be gone. sometimes the next day, sometimes by the next hour. And that whiplash, that specific grief of, I just felt you, where did you go? Is its own kind of damage that is almost impossible to explain to someone who hasn't lived it. Because from the outside, it looks like you keep choosing wrong. And from the inside, you were responding to something real that the other person could never sustain. That's not codependency as a character flaw. That is a seer who has had her sight weaponized against her. And I want to bring the doctrine here because it names something we need to name. We were taught to call our weakness, our inability to leave, our compulsion, our caretaking, our internal compass that locks into the most wounded person in the room that was born into us. It was planted. It came through mothers who were trained to save drowning men at the expense of their own children, not because they were bad mothers, because they were perfectly socialized ones. It came through a theology that measured women's holiness by their sacrifice. It came through a culture that looked at a woman tending a wound that was never hers and called her good, and looked at a woman who finally walked away and called her cold. The implanted sin is a lie that settled in so completely that you will defend it as your own nature, even as it costs you everything. This is just how I love. I can't help it. I feel too much. I see too much. What you're seeing is not the problem. Your love is not the problem. What was planted was the rule that said your seeing obligates you to stay. And I want to be specific about what that rule costs because it's not just personal. Look at what it produced at scale. Women who are exhausted at a cellular level. Children who grew up with half a mother because the other half got poured into someone who could not hold it. Chronic illness running through the female line. This particular depletion of women who have been pouring themselves into containers with holes in them for so long. They have forgotten what it feels like to be full. We were built for something, and we have been keeping ourselves from it by tending what was never ours to tend. That is the planted lie doing exactly what it was designed to do. The spiritual warfare nobody names right. Some of you have heard this phrase called spiritual warfare and felt something true in it. And even if the framework felt wrong or kind of weirdly fear-based, I want to give you a different frame. There is something that operates through deeply wounded people, something that functions almost like possession, that pulls loving, clear-seeing people completely off their own axis. It uses your best qualities as the entry point, your empathy, your sight, your refusal to abandon, your capacity to hold someone's soul tenderly even when they cannot hold their own. These are not flaws. They are sacred capacities, and what operates through severe wounding, learned consciously or not, is to reach exactly for those capacities to maintain the cord. The delusion's first move is always the same: convince the host that it is the host. I want you to hear that the cord is not metaphor. It is a real energetic structure, and it has been draining real energy, your energy, the energy that belongs to your children and your purpose and your own becoming for a very long time. And today we're going to cut the cord. I want to tell you something personal because I believe our stories are doctrine. This week I was in meditation and something came through me that I was not expecting. I was doing grounding work and moving my body, and I saw him, the person who caused me the most harm. I didn't see the adult, I saw the child. I saw him at maybe 3 years old, and I understood, in the way you understand things that land in your body rather than in your mind, exactly what had happened to that child, and exactly why the man he became could not be reached. And I felt it. This grief was so clean and so devastating at the same time, because if someone had gotten to that child 30 years before I ever existed in his life, the whole story would have been different. For him, for me, for my children. But they didn't. And the man who formed around the wound made choices. And the child and the man are not the same being anymore. They share a body, but the man made choices that the child never got to make. And my staying, with all my sight, with all my love, with all my capacity, never reached the child. It only fed the system the man had built to survive. And in that meditation, I held that 3-year-old and I said, I see you. I know you were not protected. That was not fair. I cannot save you. This is never my soul contract. I have my own babies I have to go protect now. And I cut the cord. Not in anger, not in punishment, in the most devastating, clear-eyed love I had ever felt. And something came back to me in that moment that I had not felt in a very long time. myself. Also, it's okay to cry at the Church of Sophia. Sometimes we cry here because things are sad, and it's okay to cry when you're sad. I want to speak directly to anyone in this room who is carrying this. Anyone who stayed too long in something because you could see the soul underneath the harm. Anyone whose sight became the reason you could not leave. Anyone who has been accused of loving wrong when actually you were loving with everything you had in a direction that could not receive it. I believe you saw something real. I believe that there were moments of genuine contact that kept you hopeful. I believe that you felt like you were abandoning something important. And I want to offer you something this church exists to give you. Permission to set it down. Not because the soul you saw wasn't real, but because you cannot save what has not chosen to be saved in the way you were able to give. And because the cord that connects you to that person is costing you something that belongs to your children, your purpose, and yourself. You are not cold for cutting it. You are finally choosing the right child. Close your eyes if you're willing. We're going to do this together. Whew. Find a comfortable position with me. Let your hands rest open if that feels right. Take a breath in and release it through your mouth. And another deep breath in through the nose. And a deep exhale audibly out through your mouth. Bring to mind someone who has been draining your energy. A parent, a partner, a sibling, a friend, someone you love or who have loved and who are trying to release. Don't force it. Just let them come forward. Now, I want you to do what seers do. Look past the surface, past the behavior, past the anger or the need or the absence of the harm. Look through all of it, the way you look through the surface of still water to see the bottom, and find the child. Find the age they were before something happened that they could not survive whole. When the wound becomes the whole personality, when the armor went on for the last time. Don't see that child. Don't fix anything. Just reach. Just see. Let yourself feel whatever comes. Grief is allowed here. Compassion is allowed here. You were not wrong to love this person. You were not wrong to see them. Now speak to that child out loud or in your heart. I see you. I know you were hurt. I know that was not fair. I know you deserve to be protected, and you weren't. And now the harder thing. I cannot save you. That was never my soul contract. I have my own children to protect, my own life to return to, my own soul that needs tending. And I'm so sorry. I have to go now. Feel where the cord is in your body. Some of you felt it in the chest, some of you in the gut, some of you in the solar plexus, some of you in multiple places. Don't judge it, just find it. Place your hand there if you want to. Feel the weight of how long you have been carrying it, of how far it reaches, how much your life force has been moving through it away from you towards someone who could not hold it. Now take a breath, and on the exhale, pull the cord out. Release it. Let it go where it needs to go, back to them, back to wherever healing is actually possible for that soul. Take a breath. As we've released it, we let it go back to where it needs to go because you were never the vehicle. Now feel the place of where it was. It might feel tender. It might feel raw like grief. That's okay. That is correct. You did something real. And underneath the tenderness, feel what else is there. Space. Your own energy beginning to return you to the place it was leaking out of. Breathe into that place. Let it fill. This is yours. This was always yours. You did not arrive here to pour yourself into what cannot hold you. You arrived here, and the Rooted Restoration says this, and I need you to hear it. Whole and wild and knowing and connected to something older than any empire that has ever tried to claim you. That sin was never in you. It was never you. When you're ready, take a breath and feel the weight of your body, feet on the floor, the air in the room around you, and come back. Gemini holds two truths at the same time. That is what the twins teach us, not one or the other, both. You can love someone and release them. You can grieve a soul and still cut the cord. You can see clearly, truly, accurately, all the way down and still say, this is not mine to carry. The sight was never the problem. The sight is the gift. The burden was always what the system told you to do with it. The solstice is coming. The longest light of the year is 1 week away, and the sun is about to cross from Gemini to Cancer, from seeing to coming home. That is what this is, coming home to your own energy, your own children, your own becoming, your own purpose. The work you came here to do requires everything you have. It requires you full, rooted, alive. Not pouring yourself into the swamps, but draining it by the simple, radical act of bringing your energy back to where it belongs. Cut the cord. Come home to yourself. The work is waiting. May you feel in your body that the cord was never a measure of your love. May you find in it the place where it was something you forgot was yours. May you carry your sight like the gift it always was and not the sentence it was made into. May you grieve what could not be saved without making that grief a reason to stay. And when the small one in you, the one who learned so early that her seeing made her responsible, when she reaches for the cord again, may you hold her and tell her, that was never your job, baby. You did not arrive here broken. You arrived here whole. Go in that knowing and go in the knowledge that what you just set down does not belong to you, and what comes back to you now does. And so it is.